Well, good day and welcome to you. It is March the 1st, and I'm actually recording this video on 301, so how cool is that? But hopefully you're having a great day wherever you are, and hopefully the weather is just as nice where you are as where I am, because I tell you, it is beautiful here today. Spring is starting to come out early. Now, if you are someone who has heard this information before, or if you are just hearing it for the first time, if you believe what I have to say about who and what Maitreya is, or you're totally against what I have to say, I am glad you're here and you're all welcome. And I hope that you try to find some more information about this incredible story in your own way, however you want to do it. I always encourage people to check out the websites that I put in the description portion of these videos to learn more about this information, educate yourself better, of course. See if there's any truth to it, and then you can really honestly ask yourself how you want to proceed with this information, or not, right? If you have a question you would like to ask, I always like to leave the floor open for questions. I haven't gotten a lot of questions in a while, but that's okay. But it does help all of us learn more about this information in the process of asking questions, me trying to answer it, hopefully not drawing any conclusions on what I'm saying, but hopefully it gets us thinking and gets us asking more questions to ourselves. But the best way to really get your questions answered is to, I think, check out some of the information that I've provided in the links, some of these websites. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Now, let's get on into the video. In the last video that I put up, and if you haven't heard this video, I definitely encourage you to listen to it. If you like the article that I read entitled "The Blasphemy of War," coming from Benjamin Creme's master, I could do nothing but encourage you to check out the Share International site and go to the tab that says Articles by the Master and read this article yourself. That would be the best thing to do. An incredible article about the blasphemy war. And the question that I posed in the last video, I'm going to pose it again in this one, based on what's been going on over the past few weeks in Ukraine and Russia. Why did Benjamin Creme's master use the word blasphemy when he was talking about warfare? And the answer that I came up with, not to draw any conclusions, but just to get us thinking about it, is war goes against the very nature of what it means to be a human being. We're all divine. Maitreya says within the hearts of every single person on this planet, man, woman, and child, black, white, yellow, red, pink, green, blue, whatever color your skin is, it does not matter. You have the same divine principle within your heart as it's in mine, which is in Jesus's and in the Buddha's, in Maitreya, and everyone else on this planet. Okay? We all share that same divinity. And within the hearts of all of us, according to Maitreya, is the longing for peace, the longing for unity, the longing for oneness, justice, and freedom. Without exception. Even if we don't know it, even if we don't believe it, even if we fight against it. Even in Putin's heart, apparently, is that longing for peace and unity, even though he's going in direct contradiction to that, creating a blasphemy against his own divine nature. And Benjamin Creme's master referred to warfare as a crime, not only against the citizens of the countries that are fighting it, but for everyone, really. And he said that Maitreya being on TV, he was talking about Maitreya eventually being on TV, because this article was written right before Maitreya came out on TV, but now Maitreya is out on TV. He is talking about the same thing, about the fact that it is a crime. We have to view all warfare as a crime and as a potential pathway to our destruction. That's how serious we should be taking it. This is an exaggeration, that within, even now in the Russian and Ukrainian conflict, within the first week when all the sanctions started to hit Putin and all that kind of thing, he started using the rhetoric of using nuclear weapons in his own way. And it's a possibility. And I'm not saying it's a likely possibility, but it is a possibility they could be used. And that could end all life on this planet. That's how serious we should take it. And the thing that really moved me about what I was seeing in Russia was the bravery of the thousands of people, this multi-generational marches, of the people in these marches all around Russia, in St. Petersburg and Moscow and everywhere, marching for peace, for justice, in Europe, in the United States even, marching against this injustice and this crime, really. And it is it, as down as I was getting about this whole thing, that was the one thing that really gave me a lot of hope about this situation. And then I remembered something that Maitreya said in Hyde Park right before the second Iraq War. He was filmed in a guise as a Afro-Cuban individual. Quite extraordinary video that we got a chance to see at the conference in San Francisco. And the thing that he said that really stuck with me is he goes, keep your eyes on the prize. The prize is humanity. So as much as it's hard not to focus on the elephant in the room, meaning Putin attacking Ukraine and the violence and unfortunately the deaths in not only the Ukraine but with the Russian soldiers and so forth, if you focus on what's going on with the humanity is starting to wake up more and more and more and more and more against these crimes, standing up for it. Can you imagine if Khrushchev would have done this, or Brezhnev, had done the same thing? Could you imagine 45, 50 years ago, or even 35 or 40 years ago, the people in Russia marching as much as they are doing against their own authoritarian leader in this way? It would have never happened. And the article that I read from Benjamin Crime's master, entitled A Blasphemy of War, at the very end, he was talking about the religious groups. And he was saying, and I'm going to quote this, and I'm going to talk about what I think is going on with the people in Russia. Okay. He said, where is it? Bereft of knowledge, clinging to their man-made dogma, they will find Maitreya, the Lord of Love, the abomination of evil that they fear. But not all. Many religious groups around the world have seen and heard Maitreya's words before, albeit in another guise. They will remember the teacher who appeared to them and planted the seeds of sharing and justice in their minds, while endowing their lands with the waters of life from Aquarius. This is coming from Benjamin Crime's master's article entitled The Blasphemy of War. Now, what he was talking about in this, and I'm going to get back to this whole thing with Russia and the people marching, and what I think is also happening in relation to this information, is Maitreya for a couple decades, right up from the late 80s up until the first invasion of Iraq, not the first invasion of Iraq, but when the United States under George W. Bush invaded Iraq, that's when it all kind of stopped. On almost a weekly basis, he was appearing to different religious groups all around the world, appearing as their awaited teacher. If they were fundamentalist Christian, they saw him as Jesus. If they were Muslim, they saw him as the Mahdi. If they were Hindu, they saw him as the Kalki avatar coming back and so forth. And every religious group that you could think of, whether it was Catholic, fundamentalist Protestants, they're all fundamentalist groups, by the way. They weren't middle-of-the-roaders. They were extremists to a large extent. He appeared to them, spoke to them, just as he did in Nairobi, Kenya, which is the most famous one, where he appeared to the Mary Katz's group and then disappeared in the same way that he appeared. And in each case that he appeared to these groups all around the world, he charged a well with healing water that will eventually be discovered and will have healing effects for all humanity. It's one of the most incredible miracles that have happened over the past 30 years since Maitreya has been coming out more and more in the world, these healing waters. And Tlacote, Mexico is the most known right now. There's only 3 that are known, but eventually be close to 800 of these around the world. But anyway, what Benjamin Crime's master is saying was every time he appeared to these groups, he planted the seeds of of justice, of love, of peace, of freedom in the minds and the hearts of the people that he was speaking to. Even though they were quite bigoted, perhaps, quite very much, struggling with their own personal dogma and the way of seeing life only from the narrow framework of a fanatic, he planted within their hearts and their minds that seed. Now, to take it to this the one thing that I always question in my mind, I might not verbalize it, is some of the things that Maitreya doesn't really seem to really line up with my own logic. Okay, so let me just explain. I remember right after he gave his first interview, and it was announced that he gave his first interview here in the United States, he started appearing in different countries. Well, one of the first countries that he appeared to and started speaking on their television was none other than Russia. And I remember thinking, why would he go to there, right? Why wouldn't he just be talking more in Europe or this, that, and the other, or even more in the United States, based on as problematic and as divided as the United States was? He went over and spoke to them. That was just a thought that I had. I didn't really dwell on it too much, but I remember thinking it. Well, if what he did to the religious groups is true, what he did to the people in Russia as he's speaking to them on TV, even though they had no idea who this person was, he was planting within their hearts and their minds that desire for justice and freedom. And you can start to see it. And to kind of tie off my opinion about this, what's going on in the world in relation to what I see in terms of this information and how it relates to it, I have people all the time on this channel comment about the fact that people are losing interest in this information ever since Benjamin Creme died. And what they're saying really is people are losing interest in the group Share International, and that is true to some degree. But they're not losing interest in Maitreya's priorities, the need for freedom, the need for justice, the need to solve our environmental problem. These masses of people are growing, and they're becoming more brave, and they're becoming more, letting their voices be heard. But if you watch these videos of these people marching in Russia against an authoritarian leader like Putin during the time of war, they're putting their lives and their families' lives on the line, and they're willing to do it for the cause of freedom. And yet, here in the United States, people think that the United States is the only one that fights for freedom. That is not true. The Ruskies, the commie bastards, those people are fighting for freedom as well. And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. I don't believe that they're commie you-know-whats, but that's what people refer to them here in the United States. They have very much of a prejudice against them, that they're communists, they're evil, they're this, it's the evil empire. They're not the evil empire. Their authoritarian leaders might be evil, but the people are not. And the people are getting to the point now where they can't take it anymore, and they're standing up for what they see as right, which is true freedom. Here in the United States, we're starting to fight more and more for justice, for equality, for peace. These are central to Maitreya's teachings. This is humanity waking up. So if you get down about the situation, keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is humanity. Now, I want to read an article that talks about Maitreya's task in relation to all these things. And I do encourage you to check out the Share International site if you want to read this article for yourself. It will have more of an impact on you if you read it yourself than if you just hear me read it for just a little bit and kind of flip through it and, just turn it out. So I can't encourage you enough to check it out. Share International link is in the description of this, and you just go to the tab that says Master's Article. Now, this article was written in 2005, and it's entitled Maitreya's Task. It is becoming ever clearer that the momentum of change is growing steadily throughout the world. Events follow so quickly on event that few can discern the logic of the sequence by which the new supplants the old. We, your elder brothers, recognize the inevitability of this process and watch it with satisfaction, knowing as we do that all is moving towards the more perfect expression of the plan. For men, however, this is a time of testing and trouble as they seek to understand and cope with the effects of their actions. The logic of happenings escapes them and makes them doubt the divinity in which they place their trust. Thus for men has it always been as they struggle blindly to enforce their will or to escape the consequences of their endeavors. As we move from age to age, such periods of tension and indecision are repeated again and again. Each new age brings into the world new and unfamiliar forces which gradually impose themselves on men and evoke response. Thus it is today, as men search dimly for the new direction which the new age energies demand of them. Some there are who sense the way and seek to educate their brothers in the required action. Many, though, are afraid of change and see only an impending chaos and breakdown if the radicals have their way. Into this divided world has come the Christ. His is the task to reconcile these desperate groups and to bring order out of the present confusion and tumult. That his is not easy task should be apparent to all. That the gulf between the groups is vast and entrenched is equally clear. How then must he work to bridge the chasm between the old and the fearful and the burgeoning new? How, too, can he counter the deep materialism which is the hallmark of the present time? How deal with the intolerance of the religious groups and help them experience unity? Presenting himself as a man among men, Maitreya will make no claims, demand no allegiance. Simple and direct will be his approach, moderate and calm his manner. His clarity of mind will arrest attention. His wisdom will overcome men's fears. His sincerity of utterance will melt men's hearts and remove the burden of hate and greed. Thus will men experience a new appearance of divinity, one which includes them in its manifestation and sees no distance or separation. As an embodiment, an agent of cosmic power and love, Maitreya will open the hearts of all who can respond, and turning men from their fear and division of the past, ready them for the glory of the future. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.